Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may joining me from. Hello and welcome to Too Ambitious. I'm Trish Lindo. I'm so happy everyone is here to join me. I know some of you might have missed me last week, but I'm back. So definitely show me some love in the comments. I'm super excited to have the show on today. I have an extraordinary guest that I want you all to meet. You wouldn't believe who's here. Today I have Iliana Quinonez on the show. She is an extraordinary entrepreneur and trailblazer. So let me share a little bit about who she is. Iliana is the founder of IQ Accelerate. She is here with me today. She's an award-winning Latin trailblazer in engineering and a developer of leaders with over 25 years of experience working in the high-tech industry. She's also a certified executive coach for Beyond Barriers and an advisor to startup founders. She is absolutely extraordinary, and I'm super happy that she's here with me today. Give me a warm welcome. I want some heart emojis. I want everything to let her know how much we appreciate her being here. Don't be stingy, you all. I want it all. So show some love for Iliana as she joins us on the show today. Welcome, Iliana.
Thank you, Trish. I'm really happy to be here. Really grateful for the opportunity to address your audience, talk to you, and let's keep it fun.
Yes, I love it. I'm super happy that you're here. I think that, one of the reasons why I started this show is to speak to women who are ambitious, who are disruptors, who are innovators, and you absolutely embody that. So I appreciate you taking the time to be here with me today. And, let's get into it. So you have this illustrious career in tech, 25 years. Tell me a little bit about how did you develop this drive and passion for the tech industry? Was it something that you were always curious about growing up?
Thank you for the question, Trish. And oh my gosh, when you said 25 years, it sounds like such a long time. So I'm not going to date myself, but yeah, it's been 25 years plus. I should say that it started very early on. So when I was a little girl, I was very much into technology from the time that I watched movies like Star
Yeah.
Wars, and there I'm gonna date myself, right?
Yes.
So I used to see all these things that could be done, from space travel to computers to big rooms with things that you could process a lot of stuff and get results. So I really developed this passion for computers, particularly. And then I had to start thinking, how do I do that? What did you have to go and study or do to get into computers and work with computers? And someone told me at the time, you have to go into engineering, you have to go into something called computer science.
Yeah.
So I decided early on, I think it was probably in middle school, in my transition between middle school and high school, that I decided to start pursuing math and engineering, but mostly because I like what I saw in the movies. So
Yeah.
we take inspiration from all the most unexpected places, Trish. But yes, that's what my passion started. But if I may add, I
Yes.
have to say though that it was also a passion for what technology could do for
Mhm.
me or for others. So a lot
Yeah.
of people think that you're just passionate about computers, or if you go into engineering, you like math, right? And
Right.
for me, it was more like I like those, but I like those because I know they can help us do stuff.
Right.
So technology is a tool, but people make it useful, right? So
Yeah.
that's what drove me very early on, and I think I've kept that drive throughout my career.
Yeah, and I think that, when you're growing up and you're a kid and you see all the amazing things that technology
Mhm.
can do, you spoke about Star Wars. I'm a fan as well. So, I know all about that. It is fascinating and it does sort of kind of, inspire, that mind. Did you have anybody growing up that kind of helped you to keep that inspiration going? Was it like mom or dad or anything like that?
Actually, that's a good question, Trish, because I did have role models, and that's super important, right? We hear quite often nowadays that representation matters, and it is super
Mhm.
important. If you don't
Yeah,
see it, you don't imagine you can do something, right? If you see it, you're like, yes, I can do that too. For
absolutely.
me at home, growing up at home, my father was a doctor. So actually, thinking about my father, I was expected to be a doctor. I was the oldest of three daughters, so I had to be a doctor, right? So such a disappointment, right, that I didn't become a doctor because I
That's
got into
funny.
computers. But growing up, I was fortunate enough to have two close people in my family. One of my uncles was working for IBM, large software hardware company in the world, and he was leading a team for Latin America. So I had some exposure to that, even though I was very young. And then later on, I should say, when I was in high school and going into college, one of my older aunts actually had gotten into computer sciences as well. So that was very close to home, and I could see her. I could see, I should say, her struggles to succeed in that career as well. But I could also see the milestones that she was accomplishing. And for me, it was like, you know what? If she can do it, I can do it too. So
Yes.
very, very important. So role representation, it's something that will help us with our own drive, but it will also make us believe that we can do stuff, that we can do things as well. So yes, Rich, I did have the fortune to have some role models in my life too.
I love that. Clarine is saying, yes, representation does matter. It's so much easier to aspire to be what we see.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely, Clarine. And I think for your journey was definitely interesting as well, Iliana, especially too, was that you were coming from Mexico, right?
Correct.
Your home.
Hmm.
And how did you decide, like, okay, I'm going to come to the US, I'm going to get into engineering? What was that path for you like? Because I know it's not easy when you come to the country. I'm an immigrant myself, come to the country and you're just trying to figure it out, right?
That is true.
Yeah. How did you navigate that?
That is true, and it's a hard thing to do, Trish. Let me tell you that, and I'm sure some people can relate to it, right? So yes, I'm originally from Mexico City, been in the U.S. and live in the Bay Area probably for the past 25 years as well.
Mhm.
But my journey was not straight from Mexico to the U.S. It had some colors in between. So I
Absolutely.
should start by saying that after I finished college, I started working for American companies in Mexico. And that was a great opportunity for me to have exposure to what the world of technology, the world of computers really looked like in a different place. However, I very quickly realized that as a Latina, as a Latin woman in engineering in Mexico, I was one of the few. But
Mhm.
when I got exposed to those American companies, I also realized that, oh my gosh, there's no one like me in those
Yeah.
companies, right? So what I did is I made a conscious decision to actually prepare myself further. So I decided I need to pursue more studies. I need to better prepare myself because nobody is there like me, so it's going to be even tougher.
Mhm.
So I decided to go and study a master's degree in information systems, and I knew that I wanted to have exposure to do it outside of Mexico. So I
Wow.
applied to some colleges in Europe. I got admitted into one, and then I was very happy, right? However, at the time, I didn't count with the financial means to actually be
Mhm.
able to go and take this challenge and take the opportunity to go study. Long story short, I made a lot of things happen the next year, and I got two scholarships. Scholarships are great; they can help you. And then I went. So I went to London, did my master's degree, and it was there when I got exposed to these opportunities for work. So
Mhm.
when I finished my degree, I went back to Mexico with some offers actually from companies in the U.S. Decided to take a leap of faith again and move to the U.S. by myself.
Wow.
Nobody from my family was here. I was very young. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any friends here either.
Yeah.
So, but it was a good opportunity. So for me, it was a calculated risk, if you will, to say,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm going to go live abroad, different place, nobody around me, but I know my stuff and I'm passionate about what I want to do.
Right.
More importantly, Trish, I really wanted to demonstrate to myself and probably to others that I could do it as a Latina woman in
Yeah.
tech. So
Yeah.
that's why I came to Silicon Valley. I had the opportunity to join a good company at that time, and off we went. So that's how my journey started in the States.
Wow, I love that, and and really taps into that ambition,
Mhm.
and that drive to want to succeed and to prove to yourself, not to anybody else, but to
Mhm.
yourself, that you can meet those dreams and you can excel at them as well. So, bravo to you for that
Thank
because
you.
it's definitely not an easy thing to do. You've gone on to have this extraordinary career in tech, including being vice president of solutions engineering at Salesforce. And you were there for a long time. What was the most important thing you've learned about yourself while building such a successful career, especially in this male dominated space?
Mhm. That's a great question, Trish, because as you mentioned, I was there at Salesforce. I was almost 10 years, eight plus years, right? But before that, there were many companies like the EA Systems, Informix. For those in the audience who are related to technology, some of these companies may sound like, wow, that's from the 90s, right? And
Yeah.
you are correct. So I started very early on in technology. But you're right, it is an industry in general that was highly dominated by men. Certainly, all the positions of leadership positions, the positions of power, were really mostly men. And I think that was just the nature of the beast at the time. Not too many women went into engineering when I went and did my career. I think now we have more representation of women, which I'm super happy about.
Yes.
Some companies, I have to say, some companies that are known to all of you, I can give the example of maybe Google, for instance, out there, has a lot of groups in engineering have almost a fixed 50-50% ratio.
Wow.
So, which is really good. Some groups, obviously not across the board, but some groups. However, in leadership is not the case, right?
Wow.
So, and I think it's just how it's looking today. But what I
Yeah.
learned about myself, Trish, answering your question, were a couple of things, right? One is that it's not about you being a man or a woman. It's really about, do you have the ability, the competence, the preparation of doing the job that you're supposed to do, right?
Yes.
It is true that access to opportunity is super important, and sometimes it is harder for women, right? And you have some statistics there too that I'd love for the audience to look at. But sometimes the access to opportunity has to come from different parts in the system, right? Some policies in the company, some government push, some natural organic growth from the academia into the private sector, the public sector. But on a personal side, I think really is more understanding that regardless, again, of your gender, whatever that is, that you can do it. So if you have the competence and the preparation and you can do the job, then it should be something that you should go for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, a lot of it, as you've touched on before, the self-confidence, the ambition. For you, how did you develop that ambition, to
Mhm.
continue to climb in the corporate ladder and to keep moving forward and to become such a success? I mean, you made it all the way to being vice president. How does that happen, Iliana? What's your secret?
Oh my gosh, a lot of hard work, Trish.
It always
Definitely
is.
hard work, determination, right? When I think about ambition, right? Because we talk about a lot of ambition, and sometimes most people think about ambition in a negative context, right?
Yeah.
There's a negative connotation sometimes. However, ambition for me really is having a strong desire for advancement, for moving forward,
Yeah.
right? So when you couple that with, in my case, my personal values, right? My personal values are growth, impact, and recognition. So, how
Mhm.
did you get to do that? Well, you don't get that without having a strong desire for advancement. That's how you
Right.
grow, right? Taking yourself to uncomfortable places because that's the only time or the times when you grow the most.
Yeah.
So, how did I get there? It was an innate desire, really, to move forward, Trish, to actually grow personally, grow professionally, while at the same time impacting the way that people were around me. So when you
Mhm.
think about every action that you take will impact someone in some way, and you
Mhm.
couple that with a strong desire for keep growing, keep learning, and then helping others at the same time grow and learn with you, I think that's when the ambition is the good one, the good type of ambition, right? The one that
Mhm.
propels you forward.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, there is good ambition, healthy ambition, and I love that, you have taken your healthy dose of it. So,
Mhm.
thank you for that. You've
Sure.
used your, stellar career to start your own business as
Mhm.
well, IQ Accelerate. And, one of the things that, I've noticed when I talk to so many women like yourself is that desire to start your own thing and to build your own thing, not only to, build and grow your wealth, but to also help others.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst for you to start your own business?
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah, I should say a couple of things, Trish. I had a long career in the corporate world. So,
Mhm.
first of all, right? And there comes a time when you're like, yeah, okay, should I be doing something different?
Yeah.
So, for a long time, I had already been thinking about embarking into my own entrepreneurial journey and creating my own company because I wanted to leverage my experience in a different way. I also wanted to really focus on a particular group or demographic. So, me being from Mexico City and being a woman, I particularly was interested in helping other Latinx people in technology and founders, and also other women and underrepresented minorities. So, for me, that was a very strong drive. So,
Yeah.
when the opportunity came to actually think about what's going on in the technology industry, maybe it is the time. I'm almost here for 10 years. So maybe it is actually the time for me to go and start my own company. So I took
Yeah.
advantage of some of the changes in the technology industry that happened last year. I decided to found my own company. And then I decided to really focus on a couple of things, as you said, right? One is advising startups, as I
Mhm.
mentioned, Latinx founders and women mostly,
Yeah.
and also doing my coaching practice. So developing my coaching practice, because both things I had been doing for a long time as a volunteer. So
Yeah.
I've been a very strong volunteer in my communities for a long time. So when I decided to start my own company, it was about how can I really transform what I've been doing as a volunteer,
Right.
mentor, and a volunteer advisor, and monetize it as part of
Mhm.
my business model with my own company. So
Yeah.
that's how it all started, Trish. It was also yet another leap of faith,
Yes.
trusting on myself, obviously keep building on the self-confidence, and knowing that if you put in the hard work, if you have the determination, the drive to succeed,
Yeah.
things will happen. It
Yeah.
will not be overnight. I do want to say that in full transparency. It's not overnight that you are going to become an entrepreneur and everything is going to
Right.
be perfect, right?
Yeah.
There are many roadblocks sometimes. There are things that you don't know how to figure things out immediately. But
Mhm.
again, if you remain focused, remain determined, then you will make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing happens overnight. Nothing,
Totally.
you know. I know sometimes too, when you are an entrepreneur, the especially if you're on social media, they make it seem like, everything happens overnight and it's so quick.
Right.
You'll make $1 million in 2 weeks, but yeah, it
That'd be
doesn't.
great, huh?
It would be great, but yeah, it doesn't quite happen that way,
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about IQ Accelerate, tell me a little about this business and the type of services that you offer. And if someone wants to become a client, how does that process work and work with you?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question there, Trish. So what do we do? So what we do is do advising to startups, right? If you're an early stage startup, if you're still working on your idea validation, your product market fit, your strategies to go to market, or even your strategies to do fundraising, that's something that we can help you with, that I can help you
Mhm.
with. So in that sense, I'm very focused on early stage. I'm very focused, as I said, on underrepresented Latinx and women founders. And I'm also very focused on, of course, technology, right?
Yeah,
Technology startups.
yeah,
However, technology can actually play in different industries. That's a question I get a lot. Did you focus on a particular industry? And I said, not necessarily particular industry. For me, it's more about the early stage and the type of founder. I do have industries that I try not to touch too much
yeah,
because of personal desire,
yeah.
and that's health tech. So I'm not focused on health tech, but I do some fintech, some deep tech,
Okay.
HR tech. I touch upon a little bit on that, and energy and climate. So those are areas that we
Mm.
focus on that I can help you with. And then the question is about how do we work together? So if
Yeah.
someone was interested, they can reach out to me, obviously through my website, through LinkedIn. I'm very open to connecting via LinkedIn. We
Mhm.
set up a call and then we determine, right, what are your needs, what are the needs of your company, your startup, and then we decide if that's something that we can engage in. There are
Mhm.
different models because besides being a startup advisor, obviously I embark in an angel investment journey, Trish. So I
Ah,
have started that for the past few months, so that's been exciting for me, and that's another area that we can pursue. On the coaching side, it's easy. Just reach out to me. I'm focused on women leaders, or
yes.
women in their mid-career that want to pursue a career in leadership in the high-tech industry, ideally. But if not, if you're in a different industry, that's okay. But if you have that ambition to advance your career, that's something I can help coach you through.
Wonderful. I love that you have all these areas that you are, showing your light in. I love that, and I always appreciate people who want to give back and help others as well. So thank you for that. When you talk a little bit about, working with early stage founders and everything like that, why early stage founders,
Mhm.
right? Why is that important to you? Because obviously you can work with, the full range of founders,
For sure.
but why early stage, and why does that resonate with you the most?
Yeah, I love your question, Trish, because it's a great question. Having been in corporate for so long, you're totally right. I could work with companies that are already in growth stage, in late stage companies, right? Series C, Series D, going IPO, and that would be very natural for me. However, there are two things that I particularly love about early stage. One is the thrill of a new product, right? The thrill of solving a problem that hasn't been solved before. I think that's an amazing experience. And the second thing is in early stage, it's one of the hardest stages for founders that are especially underrepresented minorities
Mhm.
because they lack the network, they
Yes.
lack the access to the opportunity, they lack the access to money and investment.
Mhm.
And that for me, it's something we need to change. It
Yeah.
has to change, right? The
Yeah.
startup ecosystem, there's a lot of money flowing into it. However, it's not represented in an
No.
equally way across the different demographics. So for
Right.
me, that's something we need to change, and we cannot change it if we don't take part of it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's helping those founders to really get access to opportunity, working on the areas that they need to prepare for when they need to present themselves with a VC fund, for instance.
Right.
How do they structure the ideas, especially people from Latin America, women of color, all these different professionals that have great ideas, potentially great products, but they don't know where to start. Sometimes not even where to start, right? So that's where my passion lies, is helping other people take their first steps in that early stage phase and helping move forward.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Iliana. And yes, Clarine also says, early stage founders often have the most potential, yet less resources.
That is correct.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And I mean, I think we all know the stats on VC funding, and I think so many founders, especially, women from, Black and Brown women founders, it's very, very difficult to lock in that funding. They have to rely on family, use their own money to get their business off the ground and to keep it going. So I think the work that you're doing is so valuable and important. So thank you for that. And if there's any founders out there who want to work with Iliana, please reach out to her on LinkedIn. She can certainly, advise you, and
Mhm.
share her knowledge with you. Now, Iliana, you are obviously very passionate about DEI and supporting the Latinx community. Tell me some of the ways that you've been showing up for your community to help them to accelerate, if you will.
Absolutely, Trish. And yes, you're right. I'm very active in the community, sometimes too active, right?
Ah,
But yeah, we keep doing that because we need
yeah,
it, right? We
exactly.
need it, and we're passionate about it. But
Right,
so some ways that I show up in my community, Trish, besides my company, obviously, and that's the professional side of it. On the
right.
personal side, I love mentoring people. I love coaching people. So I am part of some voluntary networks for mentorship. So there's an organization that I particularly love working for. It's called Up Notch. So up
Mm,
as up, going up,
okay.
notch. And Up Notch is a volunteer network of mentors and from all over the world. So you can get there, get into the platform, find a mentor, find a mentee. It's all opt-in. Obviously, if
Mhm,
you don't want to work with someone, that's perfectly okay. In
mhm,
my case, I get a lot of requests, and I will, based on my time and my availability, I will be working with people there.
mhm.
But it's a wonderful platform.
Yeah.
Another way that I do is for mentoring. There came a time in my life when I was doing a lot of mentoring. I was very passionate about it, but I was very, very set into certain groups that I would mentor, and I needed a challenge. And voila, what happened is someone told me, hey, what about mentoring veterans? And I
Mm,
decided, yeah, that's a different group, right? I haven't worked with them. What a nice, interesting challenge. So I decided to do that. And a few years ago, I joined the Veterati Network. So Veterati, it is a volunteer network of mentors for veterans and their spouses. When they come back from their tours of duty, for instance, and they want to join the civilian life and work in the public sector, in the private sector, then that's where we can help them. And it's also a volunteer environment. So that's another way I show for my community. And then last but not least, of course, I'm also part of some organizations as a volunteer, as a former board member like Mentor California,
Wow.
helping close the youth gap for mentoring, and also at Worldly Global, which is an organization that helps political refugees and asylees who are immigrant professionals rebuild their careers in the States.
Wow.
So I think that's part of what I do for my community, Trish.
Wow.
And then, of course, I love being able to help. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Iliana, you are extraordinary because you are doing a lot of great things,
Thank you, Trish.
and I know that you have a family, you're running your own business, and you're giving back. So you are a very busy woman. So, thank you.
Of
Thank you
course.
for everything that you're doing, and continue to do to affect change and to help so many people who need it right now. We have a question from Clarine. She's saying it's great to see your focus on funding founders of color, considering all the legal efforts to stop funding to founders of color right now. How are you able to continue funding founders of color in the current DEI, VC capital political landscape?
Yeah, that's a great
That's a
question,
great question.
Clarine. Yeah, great question, Clarine, and I appreciate you participating in the conversation today. So, how do I do it? It's all about focus. So, we need to remain focused and aligned with the organizations, with the people that have a mission similar to us. So, I can tell you, for instance, that in the Latin group, especially in the Latin demographic, there are special VCs that are focused on just funding Latinx founders. So it is a matter of one, having access to them, knowing that they exist. May not be easy to find them, but they do exist.
Right.
So there's a large network. There are also some angel networks of Latinx people, especially in the high tech industry, that are willing and able to participate in the startup ecosystem. So that's another way of doing it. So,
Right.
are there initiatives to change this and to go against it? Yes, for sure. You have both sides, right? But I think it is very important that people know that there are specific efforts and initiatives of people in the BC groups and in the angel network groups that are focused on underrepresented minority founders. So
Right.
they exist. Not maybe not that easy to find them, but they exist out there. And you can go to people like me. You can go to funds and do searches on that, and you will find some of them. Mhm.
Well, thank you for that. I absolutely appreciate that. And yeah, you're right. The climate right now is not easy, but there are people out there like you who are doing the work and who are continuing to support founders of color, to make sure that they gain the success and the funding that they need for their businesses to grow. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
When we think about this next chapter for you, and especially I know your business is still going, but as you think about the next chapter, what does, let's say, the next 5 years look like for IQ Accelerate and for you personally, especially with all these things that you're doing? What does that look like for you?
Yes, oh my gosh, that's an inspirational question, Trish, and also a challenging question, especially because I just started my company, right, about a year
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, but you're killing
So
it. You're killing it. Yeah.
totally. So the next 5 years, so for me, it's going to be a matter of continuing to grow my impact. As I mentioned, going back to my personal values, right?
Right.
So growth, impact, recognition. So
Yeah.
for me, it's about scaling the way that I can create impact in this ecosystem. And
Okay.
that could be through my company, that could be through some larger organizations. Someone asked me the other day, would you go back to big tech? I would say I keep the doors open, right? You never should
You
close the
never
doors
know.
to opportunity. And some of these big tech companies provide a very good platform. So if I can use one of them and I can have a win-win relationship, of course I would consider that. But again, it's all about how can I keep pushing myself to grow personally and professionally? How can I keep creating positive impact in the world around me through my company, my startup advising services? Will I be able to reach more companies, find ways to scale and replicate what I'm doing?
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to be focused on. And then recognizing the people around me, because that's super important. Sometimes we're so focused on, we need to make this happen, we need to keep moving forward, and we forget to stop and smell the roses, I should say,
Yes.
and say, you know what, we have made progress. We need to celebrate progress. We don't just need to celebrate milestones, we need to celebrate the progress that we are doing to keep moving forward. I think that's super, super important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are definitely giving you your flowers today, Iliana. So, thank you for everything that you're doing to, make things better for founders and inspire us as well. You're very, very inspiring. So,
Thank you.
thank you for that. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up today?
Maybe I would like to close it going back to ambition, Trish, since
Yes, I
we're
mean,
in the Two
yeah,
Ambitious podcast, right?
yes.
Maybe just reminding people that ambition, if used in the right way, it's a positive force for change, and it's a positive, strong desire to keep moving forward, to advance, and don't ever let anyone tell you that you're too ambitious and you should stop. So ambition is good to move forward, and ambition is good, especially if you use it to help others along the way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Mhm.
thank you so much for sharing that, Ileana. And you're so right. You're so right. So,
Thank you,
well,
Trish.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for your time, for being here. And thank you to everyone who joined us today for this amazing conversation with Ileana. Please follow her on LinkedIn if you have any questions for her or if you'd like to work with Ileana. Message her on LinkedIn. And also, too, you can learn more about her company, IQ Accelerate. I have the website here. Definitely check her out if you want to learn more. But you can't go wrong if you reach out to Ileana. You just can't go wrong. So, thank
You're
you,
too
everyone.
kind, Trish. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So, thank you again, Ileana, and thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week for another episode of Too Ambitious. If you want to be a guest on the show, be sure to message me, and we will go from there because I love ambitious women. So, thank you all for joining. I'll
Thank
see you
you.
next time.
Thank
Bye.
you, Trish. Take care. Bye.